And we're joined by Daniel Joseph, best known to many of us as the guy who was working behind the scenes for the PPC party locally.
Mm-hmm.
And then you just started to feel elements of kind of xenophobia and racism kind of creeping in, and it was just too much, and that's why you left?
Well, absolutely. That was what ended up happening. Is they went through 3 different executive directors by the time I had ended up leaving, and they had changed the tone of the party from actually wanting to be an opposition party to now just being this rhetoric machine, spewing hateful racism and xenophobia, just really to help bolster Maxim's own career.
Okay, so you go from leaving the PPC party, Maxime Bernier's party, to running as an independent. So where does this come from?
Yes. Well, there are a number of different reasons why I'm running as an independent. And actually, this isn't a prop on my hand
Oh yeah,
right
maybe
now.
you should explain quickly. You hurt your hand dealing with someone who was trespassing at the place of business that you manage.
Yes. So what ended up happening is we're right next to a supportive housing unit, and they have great security. They've got fences, they've got security 24/7, and they've got cameras, and they don't allow people to use on site. So what ends up happening are the few users that want to ignore that rule, they'll come onto our site, onto our property, and they'll end up experimenting there. So the other night, one of my staff, it was a 15-year-old girl. She was out taking out some garbage, and I see one of these guys approaching her, and he's yelling, he's being verbally aggressive, and so I'm out there in a heartbeat. To make a long story short, he pulled a knife, and I ended up dropping him in one hit.
You have some background as a boxer.
Yes.
So if someone wants to send a fighter to Ottawa, right? Once that heals up, I suppose you're better equipped than many. Right?
Well, and you know what? I know Justin likes to hit the mitts, so
Right.
maybe he needs a sparring partner.
Yeah. So I better not upset you too much during this interview. Are you good with the left as well?
Well, I hope so. I hope I can throw a good hook.
So, all right. So you end up running as an independent, and is it partly because you still have some concerns about the PPC? You want to kind of hold them to account for what you think is really kind of racism?
I definitely think that's one of the reasons, because I can point out where I can see the PPC playbook happening in the debates, and when I'm sitting with the other candidates, so I'm able to call them out and just hold them to account. That's absolutely one of the main reasons.
Right.
There are a few other reasons that are really close to my heart. Homelessness and drug abuse being my core focus. What happened to me the other night, that shouldn't happen to anyone. Nobody should be put in that situation here in Kelowna-Lake country. We're one of the wealthiest countries in the entire world, and we have an exacerbated homeless problem here in Kelowna that's just growing and more every day. And I live in Rutland. I live on Franklin Road in Rutland. And one of the main issues that we're facing there are some bandaged supportive housing units that Kelowna and the province feel like just putting into Rutland. We feel like we're facing a gentrification issue where there's this concentration of poverty and the elements surrounding homelessness and drug abuse being concentrated into Rutland. So I know that a lot of the other candidates will say, hey, well, this is a provincial issue or it's a municipal issue. But to me, it's really a community issue. And we need to have some federal leadership, and we need to have our member of parliament step in and provide some leadership on saying, hey, homelessness and drug abuse needs federal attention, and let's work on a long-term plan. We should be working on the continuum of care. We should be working on affordable housing that actually works, not just bandage solutions.
Right. Okay. Running as an independent, on the downside, the chances of getting elected as an independent are virtually zero.
Yeah, statistically it doesn't happen.
But on the plus side, you're unfettered by any particular party politics, so you can, during the election campaign, you can take it anywhere you want. And you did mention that you would like to see more direct democracy, more of the constituents speaking through their MP to Ottawa rather than vice versa.
Absolutely. And so one of the most important things for me is making sure that we're engaging our constituents. So what I would like to see, and I don't want to go back to the core tenets of direct democracy, but I would like to see our representative democracy resemble, be more representative of the constituents, of the people that actually elect our parliamentarians into office. So we have the technology now that we can be engaged in our constituents quite a bit more actively in the legislative process. We should be bringing them really with us to Ottawa through technology while we're there representing them. I would really like to see, rather than having our parliamentarians being kind of a speaker box for the parties for Ottawa in their constituencies, I would like to see us bring in the voice and the will of our constituents to Ottawa.
Right. So why not then, you seem like a really energetic person, why not find the existing party that most closely resembles your own politics and work from within, help them get elected and exert your influence that way?
Absolutely, and that's, I'm very familiar with working my way up through existing parties and through existing, institutions. My entire life has been about finding my way and working my way up. I think for me, what really spurred the independent run was the controversy that we're seeing in Rutland and the gentrification issues that we're facing. I wanted to bring some more attention to it, and I really wanted to hold the other candidates to account, saying, hey, I know that the party, these different respective parties have their different respective policies, but until the Conservatives started talking about homelessness and drug abuse just recently, none of them really had a platform or a plan to address some of these issues we're facing here locally.
Right. So do you have any sort of war chest to fight an election campaign? How are you funding your campaign, or is it pretty low key?
It's pretty low key. It's been a lot of, the traditional social media, which is going out and meeting people, talking to people, getting a pulse for the constituents here. And then again through technology. So I've been very successful in connecting with so many different kinds of people, large groups here in Kelowna-Lake country, but also people all around the world talking about politics and talking about the mechanics of politics. It's been really eye-opening for me.
Right. Okay, well, thanks for enlightening us a little bit about where you're coming from. Left-hand handshake. Thanks very much, Daniel. And thank you for watching Kelowna Now.